that's what Legia did this season against Aston Villa already. Like, welcome to the jungle, welcome to Legia. And it worked because, let's be honest, on paper, in terms of quality, Aston Villa is miles ahead of Legia. But then Legia won that match.
And then there was one guy in the middle with one pyro, but it looked like ultimate aura moments.
And then the old Ajax Ultras, fuck 410, they hanging of themselves.
That is insane, dude.
They have paid so much fines because every game they lit the shit out of. Through the whole stadium, people were lighting them up. It was like one big celebration before the game.
Had a St. Pauli logo and it said Nur wir, which means only us. Like, what is that? Like, that's all they had. Compare that to what we had in the game where they had the cannons our away.
Oh, yeah.
It was insane. We had like different choreos. We had 2-3 different ones.
Yeah.
So
fans do more than just support their team inside the stadium. In fact, most of it starts outside, where they prepare, create, and showcase their passion. Because right there, magic is made, long before kickoff and displayed in the stands for the world to see. Massive banners, dazzling tifos, synchronized movements, and seas of fire. Every detail planned to perfection. Designed to intimidate the opponent, to fuel the team, and to electrify the crowd. But what does it take to pull off these breathtaking displays? And why do choreos matter so much in football culture? Welcome to Football Ultras podcast. Football Ultras. When we are in those stadiums and you see those choreos pop up, are there some elements in it where you say like, wow, that's what makes a great choreo?
I think there is one thing I'm a huge fan of that is sometimes in choreos, sometimes not, and that's the fire, the pyro, the flash. But there are also really nice choreos without any fire, you know, like huge banners. For me, actually, it's more about the message of the choreo and what it means in the context of a certain game, maybe against the opponent that the team is currently facing. It's often like a little tease, a little like humiliation for the opponent. I always love when fans get really creative with the message that's on there. What do you value there in choreos?
Yeah, what I really love is when it's like really detailed. So when you see like, for example, like those really small elements in like a big stand. So like beforehand, you have to place all the little banners on the seats, you know, and when that is like really taken care of, then I'm like, wow, there's put so much time and effort in it. For example, yesterday night, for the listeners, last Thursday, Legia versus Mulde.
Legia as always, bro.
Chileta, of course, with another choreo. And the thing is, with when big teams in Europe play, they have to take in mind that they cannot light pyro every game, because if they do that every game, the club is gonna get fined for one, like massively, and also the UEFA is gonna close a stand.
Right,
so
fans are banned next game.
That's why when people sometimes like, oh yeah, but why do they not do it every game? That's why. So they only had a choreo, yes, and I say only, but it was really immense. Like you had like a big sea with boats, like big flagships, and there was like one small ship that was called Mulde, and you saw like the big fleet like capturing
That's
it. Like
really cool.
when it's like so much depth and a story behind it, what you said, that's when I'm like, man, it's so huge and so intimidating.
And also, it's I think it's way more impressive to have these countless little small elements than just one huge banner that you bring across the whole stand, because obviously that's also very cool. But it's way harder to also hold it up at the right time, put it down at the right time, because people sometimes maybe don't realize that. But obviously, there needs to be so much, like, that's why it's called choreography, because everybody needs to be on point. That holds up that. Sometimes there's more elements. There's like clubs that have 2, 3, 4 choreos after one another, and they bring down one, pull down the other. Legia have done that as well. Yeah. So that is so hard also, not just to make, but also to like perform in the stadium.
Yeah, and then I'm also, when I'm in the stand, like I'm a big fan of it. Like, don't get me wrong, but there's also a side of me that's questions like the people doing that on the first rows, like making sure of that they don't watch the game. Like all they are focused on is making sure that choreo works, and I think that's a big role people from home, like watching from home, don't see, or even people in the stands, like they don't focus on it, but I do. And
Yeah.
when I see it, I'm like, what an effort.
But they kind of sacrifice themselves for that. I'm sure, like they are fans as well. They would like to watch the game, but somebody
Yeah.
needs to like organize that, and also they need to make sure in the days before and also in the stadium that before the choreo is done that nobody takes it, you know, because that's also a thing, like stealing
Yeah.
choreos.
Yeah.
It's happened. So that all the organization that goes into maybe 2 minutes of like nice show is huge.
What is the most legendary choreo you have seen?
Oh, that's we'll get to that later. But one thing I can definitely remember, I've not seen it live, but that was in terms of money, because we haven't covered that aspect yet. It's also expensive. Schalke did a 20-year anniversary choreo for their Eurofighter a year, which was 1997 when they won the UEFA Cup. So in 2017 they did that anniversary choreo, and that cost almost 120,000 euros to make, 119,000 something. And that was all collected, obviously, because people ask themselves, where does the money come from? It depends. Some clubs sponsor it, but mostly for like the real ultra fan base, they collect the money themselves. And Schalke collected 120K from other fans, and which is remarkable because Gelsenkirchen, like the fan base Schalke, is really like the city is very poor, and that's also what I value so much, that it's a team effort. Obviously, the people that organize it, but also the other people in the stands, they've probably donated towards it and made this possible together. And I think it's even more impressive if it's fan funded fully.
Yeah, I haven't seen a country where it's so big, like Choreo Spende, like where
Choreo
people,
Spende, that's what it's called.
where people like where the fans like donate to the ultras. To
Is that not a thing in the Netherlands?
like it is at some clubs, but I haven't seen it a lot. Mostly, it's like in the Netherlands, it's like big supporter clubs, and there they spend with each other. But it's not really like I've heard that Go Ahead Eagles, for example, that they do it sometimes outside the stadium.
That's cool.
But I haven't seen it that much as in Germany. That's more my point. Like, of course, it will
Yeah.
happen in the Netherlands, but in Germany, it's like you see like a lot of people outside the stands, like and then ask for
Even in the stands sometimes.
yeah, or they do
like-
they do a lot of special auctions. For example, with Köln in Europa, it was like Europa Aufreisen, and then you could buy the shirt.
jackets and
You
the
could buy the
shirts,
jackets
yeah.
and shirt, and in that way you sponsor the Zoetkurve with
Yeah.
choreos, because at every European game, FC Köln had a choreo. So in that way, the supporters are part of it. And what I said in the intro, that's what I noticed when I'm in the stadium, is like a choreo always electrifies the crowd, because
Always.
all the other fans like see it and they feel, okay, this is a big one. Let's get behind the team, and that's what I love about choreos. Like it really gives an extra spark to the game. Talking about the process, like, do you even know how choreos are made?
I mean, I've not made a choreo. I'm sure you haven't either, but I think we have some insight. So usually it's like, as we said, first of all, or during the process, the ultras collect money either outside the stands or in the stands as well. I've seen like in Gladbach, they went through the like normal regular family stands with like a bowl, and it was Choreo Spende. And then they usually rent like a gym hall or a warehouse, a factory house where they prepare this, because I mean you need space for that, right? If it's like throughout the whole standard choreo, it's not easy to prepare it. You can't prepare it in your little bedroom, you know. So you need a huge place for that, and it can't be outside either, because it rains and you don't want it to get stolen, because it's really hard to prepare that. And then basically it takes weeks, right? It can take weeks.
Yeah, months. Like,
Yeah,
for
sometimes even
example,
months.
I was at the Karlsruhe Kaiserslautern one, and that took months. And also because
For Derby, sure.
they do it in warehouses most of the time, because you also don't want the choreo to be discovered. And what
Right.
happened when because some choreos are so big, they have to be handed in the stadium one day, like match day -1. So the day before the match day, they bring in the choreo in the stadium, and then what other fan did was put a drone out the stadium, and then he filmed the choreo. So the choreo was leaked, but then like not entirely. So the Karlsruhe Ultras decided, okay, we're still gonna do it, but that was sensitive. For
Yeah.
example, also with Feyenoord Go Ahead Eagles, Feyenoord made the largest choreo ever in the stadium, and some guys like so many people had to help there. I think it were hundreds of people that that were part of bringing the choreo inside the stadium.
Huge.
And then because some fans were so happy with that, they filmed their experience, but then they leaked also.
That's not really what you do.
So also there, like,
Shouldn't do that.
that's why I think sometimes the fans decide to do it not that big because they want to keep it within their group. And when you make it like really big, sometimes it leaks.
Yeah,
So-
the bigger you do your choreo, the easier obviously to discover and the harder to hide it, right? So if I think Feyenoord did it throughout the whole Kuip, right, whole stadium, that's so hard to do. Like without anything being known or discovered beforehand, it's almost
hundreds of volunteers.
So it's even like the bigger choreo, the more impressive. Also, not because it's harder to make, but also harder to hide.
Yeah. When you say impressive, like how do choreos intimidate opponents before a match?
I think it depends on the message on the choreo, but oftentimes it's obviously you want to push your own club. It's like a sign of power, a sign of like strength, sign of how big your club is. You make your club bigger maybe than it is even. Especially I think in these European games when we often see teams that like, let's say Legia, now they're playing Chelsea. They're facing an English side that's on the pitch, obviously bigger than them, richer than them, better than them. But they will, hopefully, I don't know, but probably they will put out like a choreo showing Legia as like, I don't know what they'll do against UEFA maybe, but at these games it's like you show your team as like that this superhero, and I think you represent your trophies oftentimes. That's what fans of clubs that have won the Champions League, for example, do. I can remember Dortmund there, this choreo where it was like auf den Spuren des verlorenen Henkelpots. That was 2013 when they had like a huge Champions League. It's like you make your club maybe even bigger than it is. And what fans can do, what the club can't do officially, is like humiliate the opponent, make the opponent small, insult the opponent. Yeah. So that's even a step above that.
But that's what Legia did this season against Aston Villa already. Like, welcome to the jungle, welcome to Legia.
Welcome to the jungle.
Like, holy moly. And it worked because, like, let's be honest, on paper, in terms of quality, Aston Villa is miles ahead of Legia. But then Legia won that match. Like, I'm not saying it's part of the choreo, but it's definitely plays a role in also electrifying the crowd, showing the players, like, we are here for you. And I had this interview with this player, with the video now being live on my YouTube, like, asking him, like, do you notice it? Like, do you see it? And he said, yeah, of course. Like we feel it. And yeah, when the pyro lits, we even feel the fire on our skins. Like, because it's so massive there. Like, when they do pyro, it's not like 10, 20 people. It's like the whole Gillette, like the whole stand. So
have there been choreos or tifos that have just gone too far?
Like, not like really lately I've seen some, but one that comes to mind is Ajax Feyenoord, when the keeper of Ajax transferred to Feyenoord and he was the starting player for Ajax, Kenneth Vermeer. Do you know him?
No, who?
Kenneth Vermeer.
Kenneth Vermeer.
He was a keeper for Ajax, then he transferred to Feyenoord. And then the old Ajax Ultras, Vak 410, they hang him.
So put like
they put like a doll.
Okay.
And there's even a bigger example in France. Valbuena, you know him? Like a really good midfielder. He won the Ligue 1 for Marseille, which is like when you win a title there, you are like a god. And they even retired his shirt number for it. Then Valbuena moved to Russia. And then from Russia, he got an offer from Lyon, which he accepted. And Olympique Lyon is not like a derby to Marseille, but they are rivals. Like, Olympique Lyonnais and Marseille are two big teams from the south of France, like kind of the south. So that's like really controversial. And then when Marseille played Lyon at home, they also made a banner of him hanging in the stands.
That's crazy. I
like,
think it wasn't even a banner. It was like an actual doll in that case, right? That's insane.
Like, it goes way too far, because also being like a family member of him, and like to see that on TV, that must hurt, like
it must, even like they might have even been in the stadium, like the relatives of that,
and you see yourself like you're walking on that pitch, you see yourself hanging.
Imagine like they have kids and they're like, they see their dad hung there, bro. That's a bit that's
so football.
That's
sometimes
tricky.
Like it's football, sometimes it like really can get too far. Like,
yeah, in Germany they don't usually do that, but instead they have like these pictures of people they really don't like, for example politicians or club owners, and then have like these crosshairs, like shooting at someone. For example, Dietmar Hopp was the owner of like, he's not the owner anymore, of Hoffenheim. Like, he made the club, like a billionaire, and then he got into the Bundesliga. He's not liked in Germany by the fans, and they it's happened so many times. When I think Bayern fans even did that when they played Hoffenheim. They put like a huge sign of Dietmar Hopp, a huge picture, and then a huge crosshair, like they were shooting him. And then recently as well, Hannover and Braunschweig, even United for that, the biggest rivals at Niedersachsen Derby, they did that against like the governor of Niedersachsen because she didn't allow away fans. So it happens a lot of times in Germany, and sometimes games are even postponed for like abandoned for that.
Yeah.
That's what German fans do. But I think in these cases, yeah, when it gets to like killing someone, it's even if it's just a sign, it's too much.
Do you know the club who have spent the most fines in Europe, like of all time?
Of all time? Did you look this up?
Yeah.
Oh, now you are the nerd. All of a sudden,
I had to take over your role.
Took over my role.
Two clubs come really close.
What comes to my mind, I think, is Legia in there because they've paid quite a lot of fines.
No, like I'm now in my mind. I now have 3 teams that I know 100% are in the top 5.
I think Bayern could be in there.
No,
because Bayern paid a lot of fines.
no.
No?
Number 3, FC Basel.
Basel, that is crazy.
And maybe this season not
That
because they're not in
is
Europe,
crazy.
but they have paid so much fines because every game they lit the shit out of themselves.
That is insane.
Yeah, the Moetense curve is really underrated.
Yeah, I just talked about it with Noah last
Yeah.
week. He said I have to go there.
Number 2, Feyenoord. The Kuip.
Okay, not very
Because
surprising.
the club calculated that every game they play, because the people are so many people go on like the south side of the stadium. So at those stands, all the fans also stand on the stairs because there's just not enough room for them. So the UEFA every game just sends a fine of 20k to Rotterdam to.
But
to pay
Feyenoord,
for
the
them.
club, they just calculate that in.
They calculated that.
Honestly,
in
if
their,
I was the club, I would take that because
but-
it adds so much to the atmosphere to their game.
yeah, but also knowing Feyenoord in the Kuip, like every game there someone lit Pyro. So also there Feyenoord has a lot of fines.
Fair.
Then number 1, Eintracht Frankfurt.
Okay, that is not very surprising.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then also getting to, it fits very well if we talk about our top 5 choreos.
Okay.
May I start?
You may start. this
Okay,
time.
because number 5 for me is Eintracht Frankfurt.
Okay.
And we're talking about
You're number
Pyro
5,
here.
not number 1.
I have a lot of really good ones there. It was hard
Okay.
for me to rank.
But tell me, what happened?
Frankfurt against Barca, 2022 Europa League. That was a magical season for them. They won the Europa League. Obviously, I was there in the home game, first leg. Obviously, we know what happened in the away game. But first leg, they had a really special occasion because their biggest club legend had just died, Jürgen Grabowski. And it said like, Auferstehen werden nur Götter, only gods will rise from the dead. And honestly, I'm not even talking from the visual aspect of the choreo. I've seen bigger ones, I've seen better ones, like more like creative ones maybe, but this was so special because they put a huge pic of him, put this sign, and then on the upper stand, and then on the lower stand it was all pyro. And I think because they sang the club anthem during the choreo, and I think this was the loudest choreo I've ever heard, because sometimes clubs put up choreos, and during the choreos they don't sing because sometimes it's not possible if you hold something up. But this time they sang so loud, and the choreo, and everybody was like really emotional because the biggest legend had just died.
Yeah.
I think this was it was goosebumps. It was really goosebumps for me.
In Germany, sometimes I feel they are really good in honoring their legends. Like
Yeah.
for example, with Bayern, like when the club legend died there last year as well,
Beckenbauer.
and then at Hertha, the president,
Oh
really
yeah,
young guy.
Kai Bernstein.
At Gegen Kaiserslautern was also really impressive. Like it's not in my top 5, but I'm gonna say like old school for Hertha. I think it's really underrated. I have nothing to do with them, but
Yeah, it's pretty good.
and also there, like what you say makes a lot of sense. Like they sang it really loud. The Korea was on with the club song, and it was goosebumps.
Yeah. So that was really good. What was your top 5 though?
My number 5, Brumby, because what I really like in choreos is when it's something special. Like they do something that I've never seen before, and it was like on the heartbeat. So it was like a text saying like we all our hearts beat as one, and then they put like a really hard heartbeat in the speakers, and then whenever the heartbeat bumped, so it was like silent, and then all the bandits went off. And you saw that,
And then they went back down.
and then back down.
Okay.
And oh man, like that.
It was against Copenhagen, yeah?
Yeah.
Number 4?
My number 4, yeah, okay, so now we are getting to the big work. Karlsruhe versus Kaiserslautern. The banner, it was like a whole spectacle itself. And because it was before the game, I also like and prefer that more, because during the game there was like just support. And before the game, there was a banner and it said "Manche game in Feuer verloren," and that means like some are lost in fire, right?
Yes, bro. This guy
Okay.
speaks German.
So then the Red Devil, like Kaiserslautern, a nickname is Rote Teufel, which means Red Devil. So a Red Devil is being displayed, and on the banner on top of that. Then the banner of the top rolls down, and you see like the Griffin of Karlsruhe like on top of it. Then the text banner is getting changed, and it says "Andere werden daraus gemacht," and that means like
crazy.
others are made out of it.
So like rising like a phoenix, and
So the phoenix is on top of the Teufel. The devil is going down, and then the whole like Griffin of Karlsruhe is being displayed. Like so cold, and like you are a sucker of pyro, but in that case,
Pyro, new nickname.
in that case, like there was no pyro, and that made it so clean. Your number 4 tops it mine. Okay.
Copenhagen, the opposite side of, you mentioned Brøndby. For me, it was Copenhagen against Brøndby in Copenhagen. And you know, FC Copenhagen, this is really a special club to me. They play in Parken, which is hated by many, but I think this stadium is really cool for choreos. It doesn't have the corners. It's like a typical, like an English stadium, just 4 sides without the corners, without the curve. But they have this one ultra stand where there's Section 12, the ultras, and they're known for these insane choreos. So for me, it was like maybe visually not so special, but it was blue, white, like little pieces. Everybody held them up. And then it said like, "Du gamle, du stolte, du smukke Copenhagen," which is like a love message to the city of Copenhagen. And here it's really special because this derby, you know, FCK fans, they're like really proud, and they're like, Brøndby, it's like a club from the outskirts. They're not really Copenhagen, so they kind of look down at them as like let's say the dirty little annoying club from the outskirts. So it's like a real real arrogance in there that they always display against them. But I think it's like a cool, really cool arrogance. And then you had all the smoke coming up, white and blue, and then there was one guy in the middle with one pyro. It was like, you could say, okay, only one pyro, but bro, I don't know if that one guy was a couple or anything. Maybe, probably, but it looked like ultimate aura moment. There was huge smoke, and then one guy holding up a pyro, bro. I swear, he looked like the Statue of Liberty. I swear, like you just had to be there. I was there with Flo. Ask him, bro. It was, goosebumps.
Number 3.
Number 3 is very different now because I'm going to San Siro, your favorite stadium in the world.
Most overrated stadium in
bro,
Europe.
yeah, we disagree here so much. And you said that it's really bad for choreos, but I have the pick here as well.
No. I said it was bad for like ultra scenes, like.
Yeah, but that's kind of.
No, but like choreos, like Milan and AC Milan are kings of choreo.
Okay, because I watched the game Milan against Napoli, Champions League quarterfinal at San Siro, and that was a whole stadium choreo, where they were really creative. Because on one hand they had like a huge UCL trophy with a 7, everybody holding up something. So I was also involved there, like as a regular fan. I think it's always cool if everybody's involved. One stand was huge UCL trophy with a 7. Then the main stand, "This is Milan," and then on the right stand, the ultra stand, the Curva Sud, there was like also a devil, because Milan also have like this devil as their sign, and then holding like a guy in a costume that is, I think it was like a Napoli guy, like a guy representing the city of Napoli. Huge devil like grabbing him, and then it said "Nelle nostre mani è il nostro destino." I think that was it. In our hands is our destiny. And then the UCL anthem. You know how it is in Italy, you know? Yeah. Because in other countries, in Germany, nobody sings the UCL anthem.
No, but in Italy, they're really proud.
In Italy, they are proud of the UCL anthem. Really special. I haven't seen that in any other country. When it goes, "The champions." But this moment, insane. But now, let's get to your number 3 and 2.
Yeah, so all my choreos are like funded and made by the ultras. They're like,
and this one was as well, by the way.
Yeah, Milan. Okay, but the stadium things, it's in collaboration with the ultras, because the club paid for all the banners.
Right, but the ultras made their own thing as well there.
But at my choreos, not number 3, Slavia Prague. They are, for me, if you ask me like who are the best fan bases in terms of choreos, it is like one answer, and that's FC Köln and Slavia Prague.
That's 2 answers.
Yeah, because FC Köln, you cannot forget them when it goes about choreos, but Slavia is like, they make a sport out of it. Like what they do each year, almost every game is insane. At the derby, there were 3 choreos in one half.
Home derby.
Home derby. Like words fall short to describe it. Like you have to just experience a big game at Slavia Prague, and then you will find out yourself how good they are in it. Lots of firework, lots of pyro, also just banners without any flares. It's just really special to be there. So for me, they are outside of Germany. They are for me the kings in terms of choreo. It's hard to beat them.
So what's your number 2 then?
These two are like what Slavia does. Like the stadium is also not that big. So these two, because the stadium is that big and it allows for a greater choreo, they are just in the top of my head when you say like what was a great choreo you witnessed. So my number 2 is Feyenoord in the Kuip, a record-breaking banner through the whole stadium.
The one you talked about, you were there in the stadium actually.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh,
it
nice.
was the game for the championship.
Yeah.
So they won the league after a few years where they were like really bad.
2023, was it that?
Yeah. And on the banner, the song that got viral that year, it was a really old song, but it means like Feyenoord, what are we gonna do today? And on all the banner were all the successes displayed of what they won. So you
Every
saw,
single trophy.
yeah, so you saw the European Cup, you saw the Eredivisie titles, the Dutch Cups titles, and it was like displayed through the whole stadium. And what I find so like respectable to it is like the choreo worked, so it didn't fail. And trust me, I saw on every entrance of the stadium, I saw guys with walkie-talkies and all guys from the fan club. So no club officials, and you saw guys hanging on those little wires in the stadium to make sure it worked. It was really impressive. There was from like Feyenoord do also these green smoke bombs like through the whole stadium. People were lighting them off. It was like one big celebration before the game. And I think it is a club without an ultra scene. Like they have some small ultras maybe, but they don't have a organized ultra scene in the stadium. It's hard to.
But they have these fan clubs. They are organized.
Yeah, but
so somebody
in the
organized
stadium,
the pyro.
In the stadium, there's no organized.
I get
atmosphere.
that. It's more the English atmosphere,
yeah,
but better.
But what I find so respectable in that moment is like there was constant noise and people were singing the same thing, and I haven't seen that good of an atmosphere ever since that game in the Kuip in that stadium. So
that game they officially won the title then.
Yeah, so they won.
Amazing.
They won big against Go Ahead Eagles.
What would have happened if they had lost and they?
But they still
they would have won
next week.
way, yeah.
But then away. But no, everyone was so focused on winning it.
Yeah,
and, it was really impressive to see also a fan base without an organized ultra scene create a good atmosphere, because people say it's not possible, but it is possible as long as the fans want it, and the fans wanted it that day. Your number 2.
I'm actually having 2 on a similar level. Hamburg Derby, lads. Hamburg Derby. You know, St. Pauli. So for context, St. Pauli got the home derby first. I went to both in that season, last season. Now we're not in the same league anymore. And they made, that was insane from both sides. St. Pauli Ultras, they made like, they have that Hell's Bells AC/DC anthem, and then they made like a huge pirate ship, because they are like pirates. They're different, and alternative. And they had like in the holes of the ship where like there's the cannons, they burst out the pyro. It was really impressive, to be fair, even though they're my rivals. It was very impressive.
It was a good choreo.
Yeah, you remember that one, right? So then as a response to that, so that was in December. In May, the home derby in Hamburg at HSV, which I watched as well, our ultras responded to that with like, and obviously we have a double the size stadium, bigger stadium, so bigger choreo, whole Nordtribüne, and it said like Festung Volkspark, like Fortress Volkspark, the stadium, and we had like a huge like a fortress, and then huge waves that moved and stuff, and then we put like a little ship with like a pirate in there, which is like represented St. Pauli, or not we, but our ultras did that. And then that already looked incredible. And then all of a sudden there was like a bang, like a bomb, a smoke coming up, and then all of the pyro, like in the middle of the waves, there was like fire, and the ship started like burning, and the ship started to sink. And then they let the ship sink, and we won that derby as well. That was really creative. And then after the game, they took the material of the ship, they took it once back up, and they actually burned, like they made like space. and they actually burned all the material of the ship in the stadium. So they actually made a fire in the stands.
Now we're talking about next level, because that is just when you react to a choreo that happened
Right, with the
early in the
context.
year with context, like then you're talking about next level shit.
Yeah, so I love that as well.
Your number one, I have seen it on TV. I think on TV it was one of my most favorite, but you watch it live.
Live, it was my favorite as well. It is my number one. We're talking about next level. You mentioned Karlsruhe, Kaiserslautern. Karlsruhe, now I mentioned Kaiserslautern. DFB-Pokal final 2024 last year. It was a miracle already how Kaiserslautern, as a second Bundesliga side, got there. Against Leverkusen, obviously Leverkusen much better side, but on the stands, Kaiserslautern outsang them, outperformed them with the choreo. Insane, Olympiastadion, 75,000. So it was a huge stage. And then they put out that devil that you talked about that was burned in the fire in Karlsruhe. Now it wasn't burned. It actually came up.
It had risen again.
Yeah, it had risen again. And then they set a banner, kein Gegner hält uns im Zaum, die Krallen greifen nach dem Traum. So no opponent is containing us. The claws are grabbing for the dream. And then came up a devil in a sea of fire. Huge devil with Kaiserslautern logo with a trident. He had like a pot of fire where he drowned like all the clubs they'd already beaten, and then also their rivals. I think KSC was also there. And then in the other hand, he held the DFB Pokal.
Yeah.
And then also the smoke. No words to describe that. Like no words. It was also shared everywhere, worldwide, social media. They lost the game, but they actually won. They actually won.
I think sometimes for fans in Germany, it's also how they perform on the stands and how they win that battle
Right.
as well.
And that one they had easily won. Now I want to know if you have one that comes close, bro. I'm really excited what you have now.
I think like my number one, like when you talk about time, effort, and skills, that one is hard to beat.
Okay.
It's Leg Poznan. They are pretty famous for it. They rolled out a banner with a porn girl, like having a facial expression like ooh, what's happening, and then a text displayed like oops, I did it again. So it was like really going like what is happening, and then already in that it took like 30 minutes to organize that. Then another banner comes down with like the colors of Leg Poznan. For 10 minutes they stayed under it. The banner goes up and a sea of pyro and shots, like it went mental in the air, like for I think for 2-3 minutes inside the football stadium, like so much firework. And then the porn girl on the left side with that face and like oops, I did it again, was still like visible. Like I was like what am I seeing here? And then again the banner went up, and then again the banner went down, and then they had red pyro and white pyro, and it went on for 30 minutes to show like
30 minutes.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes.
Bro,
like I think for from the first minute till the 17th minute in the second half, they were busy with cleaning up,
That's insane.
taking care of it, and they didn't watch the game. With these top choreos, has there ever been a choreo that flopped?
Hamburg are sometimes trolled because we've had like letters that were wrong in the past 2-3 times. It does happen though, and I remember Bayern 2019. They have this the slogan saying "Packmas," which is in Bavarian. It means like we'll do it, we will win. And then they held up the letters wrong, and it said like "Figmas," which means like fuck it or something. So they were really trolled for that.
Yeah,
but it happens, but you have to be careful with it because you're on the big stage. And another thing that happens is national teams. I think German national team, we have this fan club Nationalmannschaft that, it's not an ultra group, but it's kind of a fan club that organizes these choreos alongside the association, and it's sometimes pretty cringe. I respect them, but it's sometimes the choreos have been a bit failed and cringe. People said it's cringe. They wanted to say like Vollgas, which is like full ahead, and then they completely fucked up the letters and it meant nothing. So that's when, it backfires.
Yeah, and in that case, like they have the best intentions. So like I don't mind people trolling about it, but in the end, they have the best intentions.
I was gonna say,
to make atmosphere. So
it's still they put in the work, they put in the effort. I'm not the guy trolling, but I see that it happens.
The same with Willem II against NAC this year. Like they had a beautiful banner, but it torn apart in the middle. So the banner just like that's what I said about Feyenoord. Like when they had like the banner in the whole stadium, like the largest ever made. I was so impressed. It actually worked because so many things could have gone wrong.
Right.
And it just worked, and there's not really time to practice it. Like
It's just one try.
yeah.
If
So
you fail, you fail.
so in that matter, do you also know OIK Stockholm?
I know the club. I want to go there, to Stockholm Derby.
So
What about them?
when I was skiing, I met some OIK fans, and they told me like, we have one of the best choreos in the scene, but every time we fuck up the spelling. So also against Legia, when they had the Santa Claus, they misspelled it. So
Shit.
they are like, they have beautiful things, but they misspell it a lot. You have to do your research on it.
I'll check that out.
But yeah, they sometimes fucked it up. Sometimes there are moments in stadiums that I see something happening and I'm like, what the fucking hell is that?
I have one thing in mind that was just crazy, man. You know the Niedersachsen Derby?
I've been there.
Braunschweig. We've been there. Have you been to Braunschweig though?
No, only
Okay.
Hanover.
So what happened there was crazy. These two hate each other. They always have crazy actions against each other. But Braunschweig, even though I prefer Hannover in this, but Braunschweig, what they pulled off there is really, really smart. So they had essentially the away end of Hannover was all red. They all came in red, while Braunschweig colors are yellow, blue. And they had actually hidden smoke bombs under the seats or like somewhere in the away ends. I don't really know how they did it without the Hannover ultras finding it out, because it's like the stand is not huge, and how do you do that? I don't know. But they had hidden smoke bombs in their colors, blue and yellow, with a remote control. That's just insane. And all of a sudden, during the game, Hannover all in red, someone pressed the button in the home end or somewhere in the stadium, and the smoke in the away end went off, blue and yellow, so in Braunschweig colors, and that's the biggest humiliation you can get. Like
the guy pressing that button must have been in tears.
Bro,
like
this guy is for Braunschweig the hero of the day.
Yeah.
So they actually completely humiliated their opponents, and that's like for a fan base, it's the ultimate disgrace. But
the derby after that, Hanover made a display on their stands.
yeah,
like, look,
check your seats.
check
Look
your
under your
seats.
seats.
And
And
they
the
were
derby after
like-
that, I was there.
oh,
Yeah, so that was the one I was there, and they always go back and forth. I mean,
Oh my days.
Hannover have literally gotten their logo on Braunschweig's pitch for a game, so it's not like they haven't scored some points there either.
Yeah.
But in terms of choreos, that one I remember Braunschweig just
yeah, and they
800 IQ move.
they changed the scene because now a lot of away fans, the first thing they do is check the seats.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So that's now a thing. Before
Yeah.
that, I think it was the first time it happened in Germany.
yeah.
Now you check.
Yeah.
So they actually changed something there. Yeah.
And last week the derby was played again in Hanover, and it was really comfy, because a German police car with like water
Mhm.
was entering the stadium.
entering the
Like,
stadium.
what the fuck?
Yeah, that was also.
That's not like what the fuck. Like, it went viral on the internet.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because what the fuck?
This derby is always like every time they play, it makes headlines. This
But
time,
a water machine
know.
gun in the stadium.
because the fans just both sides actually this time kind of fought for the same thing, because
but Braunschweig wasn't allowed, right?
there was a ban on away fans, like a restriction, a
Yeah.
limit, but then the whole scene said we're not going to travel, so they only had a very small number allowed.
Yeah.
And that's from the state government of Niedersachsen, what she called the Ministerpräsident, the governor of Niedersachsen. That's where also they put up like her image, as I said, with a huge like crosshairs like shooting at her, because she is like really, she wants to like completely contain this ultra scene in her state, and she's like really against the ultras. And then that's why recently even the biggest enemies, Hannover, Braunschweig, have kind of teamed up because they have a bigger enemy, which is the government.
Yeah.
One of
Football
the
without
biggest-
fans and rival fans is nothing. So
It's-
they belong in football.
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest treasures we have in German football, so hopefully.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
both scenes are amazing. So
absolutely.
okay, finishing the episode with some subscriber questions. I've got one from Danny. Thank you for sending in the question, Danny. What is your favorite ultra scene you have seen outside HSV?
I think, okay, outside of HSV, I really respect Kaiserslautern, so it kind of fits with the choreos I've mentioned. But what about you, bro? Best ultras you've witnessed?
One that pops up in my head, Rapid Wien,
Okay.
is one I really loved. Like best is hard to say because there have been so many, but they are for sure on my bucket list that I want to see one more time. So okay, because I love the questions, one more from Marcus. He asked, what is the worst choreo you have ever seen?
Wow, that's a tough one, Marcus. Well, I don't want to disrespect any choreo because every choreo requires work to put in. But I have to mention one, and then I will just go for St. Pauli auswärts away in Hamburg, which I
St.
mentioned.
Pauli.
Yeah. St. Pauli, you know, they have really good home choreos. I mentioned them with the pirate ship, with the cannons, with the pyro. And then we responded with burning the ship, and that exact game, them away. I was a bit disappointed, not gonna lie. You know, obviously I could be biased, but what they had is like in the away end all brown, and then like quite a small banner that just said, had a St. Pauli logo, and it said Nur wir, which means only us. Like, what is that? Like, that's all they had. Compare that to what we had in the game where they had the cannons away, our away.
Oh yeah.
It was insane. We had like different choreos. We had 2-3 different ones.
Yeah.
So even St. Pauli fans I talked to were like, we expected more. But it was even them, they could get promoted in that game. Like, if they had beaten us, it was the game where they could get promoted for the first time in their history, finish a season above us, which they did after all. But they could have actually confirmed that in our stadium. How big is that?
Yeah.
So it was essentially one of the biggest games in their club history. And they come with a choreo with a little banner that says, only us.
They could have done a lot more.
I was a bit, you know what I mean, right?
No, fair shout. So St. Pauli in away ends, do your work.
Do your work.
That was our anniversary episode 10. Thank you guys so much for your support. Leave your questions below. Please rate our episode on Spotify and leave a like on YouTube. And we'll see you guys in the next one.